Imagine this for a second. You get a second chance at life, a complete do-over.
Sounds good so far.
Right. But the only thing you bring with you is the full, raw memory of the trauma you caused and the absolute tragedy that ended it all the first time.
Okay, not so good anymore.
And now you're standing in front of the person you failed, the one whose horrific death you witnessed, and they have no idea who you are.
That impossible, agonizing starting point is exactly the foundation for the deep dive we're taking today. We are jumping headfirst into the Boys Love Omegaverse Manhwa, beyond the memories from Onobam and Studio Milan's.
And we're not just here for the romance, though. There's plenty of that.
Oh, for sure.
Our mission today is to really unpack how the series uses its core mechanics, the time rewind, the regressor trope, and that psychic Omegaverse bond, not just as plot devices.
Right. They're more like surgical tools to dissect trauma, guilt, and the very messy, difficult path to redemption.
So to set the stage, we have to establish the tragedy first. In their first life, the original timeline, let's call it.
Yeah, that works.
Our main characters, Alpha Kwan Ido and Omega Jung Sejin, were in this miserable, distant relationship that ended in a double suicide. It was a complete and utter failure.
Just devastating. And then the rewind happens. Time snaps back to before their arranged marriage was even a done deal. Kwan Ido wakes up and he's the regressor. He remembers everything.
So he's carrying this immense psychological burden, the full weight of their shared disaster.
But here's the crucial twist, the imbalance that makes it so compelling. John Sejin, the Omega, he only has these confusing, fragmented night terrors.
He doesn't remember a thing.
Nothing. Not loving, not dying, not failing. He's starting fresh, but with this deep, gut-level feeling that something is terribly wrong. Ido has the weight of 2 lifetimes on him, while Sejin is just trying to navigate a reality that feels both alien and strangely familiar.
Let's really dig into that asymmetrical burden of memory, because that's what drives the entire first part of the story.
It's everything.
So, Kwan Ido is the second son of the powerful Seonho group. And in that first failed life, our sources make it clear he was emotionally unavailable, distant.
He was there, but he wasn't there,
Yeah.
Physically present, but completely absent when Sejin was falling apart, which led directly to that collapse.
So everything he does in this new timeline is fueled by this raw, consuming guilt.
It's an obsession. It looks like love on the surface, but it's really an obsession born from trauma. He's not building a new relationship. He's trying to stop a fire that already burned the whole house down.
And that guilt immediately turns into this hyper-vigilant protection.
He's constantly trying to correct his past mistakes. The anxiety is chronic. You can see it in his design, in everything he does. He's just haunted by that final image of Sejin. He can never, ever relax.
And on the other side, you have Sejin, who starts out in just the most fragile position possible.
He's an adopted son. His family is financially ruined, and he knows he's essentially being sold. He sees himself as an object to be traded.
He already thinks he's broken and disposable.
Exactly. And the insomnia is relentless. Those night terrors you mentioned, they aren't just bad dreams.
No.
They're his subconscious screaming at him. They're fragmented memories of his past life, of his own death, trying to break through to the surface.
It must create so much chaos in his mind.
It's total cognitive dissonance. He has this profound sense that something is deeply wrong, especially when he's around Ido. Here's this stranger.
Who treats him with this bizarre, intense tenderness.
And pain. A desperate pain that Sejin can't possibly understand or rationalize. It makes no sense to him.
So in that first stretch, maybe the first 40 chapters or so, Ido immediately starts using his future knowledge. Like, how does he start changing the past?
Oh, he moves mountains.
Yeah.
One of the first things he does is push the marriage timeline way up.
Right, to get him out of that abusive home.
Immediately. He forces it through to legally secure Sejin and pull him away from the Jong family before they can do any more damage. He also starts quietly taking out corporate rivals who back Sejin into a corner in the first life.
He's building a perfect safe little cage for him.
But it backfires, at least psychologically. Because for Sejin, it's just more confusion. He feels this deep familiarity with Ido, but the man in front of him is acting like the perfect partner, too perfect, too attentive.
Which completely clashes with the vague, foggy memory of the cold man from his nightmares.
And that's where the story frames memory as a double-edged sword. Ido's memory lets him protect Sejin from danger, absolutely. But the guilt makes him manipulative.
Because he knows everything.
He knows Sejin's favorite foods, his triggers, how to create the perfect day. But it's an environment built on complete one-sided control.
And that leads us right into the core ethical problem of the whole story: redemption versus control. Ido is desperate for redemption.
But his method is to micromanage every single aspect of Sejin's reality.
And this is where a lot of readers get frustrated with him.
For sure. Because Ido genuinely believes he has to save Sejin by controlling everything, by hiding the truth. He screens his calls, he manages his diet, he basically builds a protective bubble around him.
But the whole story is asking you, can you really save someone by taking away their autonomy? Can a relationship built on a secret that huge ever actually work?
The answer is no. Because even in the new timeline, the external threats are still there. The abuse from the Jeong family doesn't just disappear.
And that just feeds Ido's anxiety.
It reinforces his belief that only he can be trusted to manage Sejin's life. So the control gets even tighter. It's a toxic loop, even if his intentions are good.
And you can see that visually, right? Studio Manlis does a lot with the art to show this.
They really do. Throughout that whole middle section, chapters 41 to 80, Ido is constantly drawn as the burden bearer. You see the tenderness when he looks at Sejin, but his eyes, his posture. It's all deep, chronic anxiety and guilt. He's physically carrying the weight of 2 lifetimes of failure.
So let's flip to Sejin's side of things. He's navigating this completely fractured reality. His journey is really about moving from being a passive victim to an active truth seeker.
Yeah, and his fragmented memories are the engine for that journey. His struggle isn't just about his low self-esteem, it's that his mind feels fundamentally broken. He's trying to square this super protective Ido with the emotional wreckage from his nightmares.
How does the art make us feel that disorientation?
It's incredibly effective. For all the flashbacks to the original timeline, they use these desaturated, hazy filters. The paneling gets sharp and angular, almost like it's causing physical pain.
And then for his current life,
They lean hard into cool tones, lots of blues and purples, to really sell that sense of isolation and mental fog. It feels cold and mysterious, just like his own mind does to him.
the pacing here is also key. This series is known for its high angst. I think the fan ratings are something like 100% dark and emotional.
And it earns that reputation. It does not pull its punches when it comes to psychological trauma.
We should probably talk about chapter 89.
We have to. That chapter is a major point of contention for some readers. It gets incredibly intense with the psychological trauma and the violence. Some people felt it was just too depressing.
But narratively, why push them to that brink right before the climax?
I think it was necessary. It had to prove that Ido's control wasn't foolproof, that tragedy could still strike. And more importantly, it forced Sedin to confront that tragedy on a subconscious level. It's the final push he needs to start demanding the truth.
So the pain serves a purpose.
Yes. It shatters the false reality Ido built. Sejin's whole journey is about reclaiming his agency, and sometimes you have to hit rock bottom to see what you're really fighting for.
That makes sense. He stops seeing his suffering as just random hallucinations and starts actively trying to understand that weird, unsettling familiarity he has with Ido.
He's reclaiming his identity. But he can't finish that journey while the relationship is so imbalanced. They need an equalizer.
And this is where the story gets so clever. It takes a familiar trope and just completely reinvents it. The great equalizer, the Omegaverse bond.
It's a fantastic subversion of the trope. In most Omegaverse stories, the bite is, biological. It's about ownership or mating or solidifying a pair bond.
But not here.
Here, it is explicitly a memory and emotion transfer mechanism. It is the story's ultimate catalyst because it's the only way to physically break down that wall of asymmetrical knowledge between them.
Which is why Ido waits so long. He's terrified the truth will just break Sejin all over again.
Exactly. He's afraid it will lead to the same tragic end. But the climax of Season 2 forces his hand. There's this desperate, almost violent bonding moment where that psychological wall just begins to crumble.
And that moment right after chapter 80, when Sejin finally gets all those horrifying memories back, it's what so many readers call the most satisfying turning point of the entire series.
Yes, because suddenly the playing field is level.
He finally understands Ido's suffocating, desperate protection. He sees the awful past, but he also sees the man who literally went through hell to try and change it for him.
It completely resolves that core asymmetry. The relationship shifts from Ido's unilateral control to shared trauma versus mutual healing.
Sejin has the full painful truth now, but that truth finally gives him full agency.
He can choose. He can choose to stay and fix things with his eyes wide open, or he can walk away. He's no longer a protected object. He's a partner.
And this forces Ido into his final, most important stage of growth. He has to let go of being the guilt-ridden manager of Sejin's life.
And become an emotionally vulnerable man who accepts that Sejin must know the truth to be a real partner. He trades his control for true vulnerability.
So the bond becomes this powerful metaphor for absolute honesty, for real empathy.
They can only truly move forward once they literally share the burden of their past. The story is basically saying you can't build a future if one person is trapped in the past and the other is living in a lie.
So after all that, the main story wraps up around chapter 107, and it is a confirmed happy ending.
A very, very earned one. They dismantle the external threats, the family, the corporate drama that ruined them the first time. But the real victory wasn't external.
It was internal.
They broke the cycle. They broke that memory asymmetry.
So the success of the whole rewind wasn't just about changing events, but about fundamentally changing how they related to each other. They finally stopped being regressors, trying to fix the past, and learn how to actually live in the present.
And that's the big takeaway, I think. Beyond the Memories uses these wild speculative tropes to explore something very real. The ethical need for autonomy and healing. Healing requires honesty and shared experience, even when that honesty is painful.
Which leaves us and you with one last question to think about. If you were in Ido's shoes, if you knew the tragic end of a relationship and had the power to change it, would you choose perfect, calculated protection? Would you control their reality to spare them the pain?
Or would you risk it all by giving them the full, devastating truth, and with it, the chance to choose their own path? That line between protection and control is exactly where Beyond the Memories lives.
Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. It really helps the channel grow. See you in the next one.